Hello, welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you are watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm back with another update coming out from the war between Russia and Ukraine, and I've got a huge lineup of news to brief you all on today. So today's date is June 9th, 2025, and it's Monday. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Lots of huge news to get into in today's update. We've got very big news out of Russia as last night Ukraine launched another major drone swarm targeting multiple regions of Russian territory, and we have reports of defense factories and also an air base that came under attack. So take a look at your screen here. Ukraine hammers more defense factories. Savasleyka air base hit by drones. The facility struck in early morning attacks were a plant in the Chuvashia Republic, which produces navigation systems for Russian drones and missiles, and a gunpowder factory in Kazan. So this picture you're looking at here is actually out of the city of Kazan, and allegedly this is a gunpowder factory that was hit over here. You can see a massive blaze, lots of smoke coming from that facility that looks like it was completely destroyed. I've got video footage coming out from that area. Also in the Chuvashia Republic, where we had this other defense facility reportedly struck, it was hit multiple times by drones, and allegedly they are producing antennas for Russian Shahed drones. Okay, so these are used for navigation purposes on these drones that consistently attack Ukraine pretty much every day. And the Savasleyka air base that was under attack, that's up in the Nizhny Novgorod region. Allegedly, it was hit with drones as well. And we have reports that potentially two aircraft could have been destroyed, according to Ukraine's general staff. So we'll talk about all those reports today and show you guys some pictures and videos coming out from these attacks. We also have information that Ukraine was under heavy bombardment last night as well. Somewhere around 500 drones and missiles were entering into Ukraine, but allegedly they shot down a good majority of these, which is very good news. But up in the northwestern portion of Ukraine, in the Rivne region, we had reports over there that there's an air base called Dubno that Ukraine potentially uses for F-16s, and allegedly came under attack as well. I don't have any information as of yet whether there's major damage over there, but apparently a lot of the drones and missiles were going after that air base. And if it does host F-16s, it makes me wonder if that's retaliation for what happened last week, as we had a report over the Kursk Oblast inside of Russia. Allegedly, Ukraine shot down a Russian Su-35, I believe is what it was, and it was shot down by an F-16, and I have more reports today confirming that apparently that was the story. So very big news today. We're going to cover all these major updates today with our video. So let's jump into this. We're going to hop on over here to X with Max25, massive attack on Russia and Crimea, a map from Drone Bomber. So here's our map that comes out here from Drone Bomber on Telegram, showing the trajectory of all these drones going into Russia. You can see a lot of them going after the same regions we've been kind of reporting for weeks now, but a lot of different regions coming under attack. But primarily, a lot of the drones that were attacking facilities are going to be up here, just north of like Tambov and Penza Oblast, going to be up here closer to Moscow. So we'll show you on a map here, but you can see some drones also attacking Crimea down here, also potentially even the Krasnodar Krai region. So let's go ahead and move on to a map now that I pulled up for you guys, so I can kind of show you where a lot of these attacks were taking place at. I don't have the exact coordinates of these buildings, but I at least have the cities, so you can kind of get a visual representation of where these attacks were taking place. So here's Ukraine here. We're going to go to these three regions right over here next to Moscow, just a little bit to the east. So first in the Nizhny Novgorod region, these are all approximately, I'd say, 800 to 1,000 kilometers from the border of Ukraine, or where the front line is at. So in the southwestern portion of the Nizhny Novgorod region, we've got the city of Savasleyka here, okay? And just to the south of that, we've got this pretty massive airfield here. You can see it hosts a lot of Russian aircraft. Allegedly, this place came under attack last night. Looks like they've got helicopters stationed here as well. And Ukraine's general staff is reporting that at this airfield, there was two aircraft allegedly being destroyed. And I'll show you guys that report here, okay? So this is the airfield located next to Savasleyka in the Nizhny Novgorod region, okay? This is a region heavily attacked repeatedly by Ukrainian drones. And just next door, we have the Chuvashia Republic, okay? And in this city right here, Choboksary, if I'm saying that correctly, this is where we're going to zoom in. This is allegedly where this other defense factory was attacked. This is not the gunpowder plant, but that factory producing antennas for Russian Shahed drones. Okay, so this is a city reportedly being attacked with that factory right here in the Chuvashia Republic. Looks like on the northern side of that. And then just a little bit east of that, we've got the city of Kazan right here, okay? And Kazan has been attacked many times. I think there's an oil depot over here that has been attacked before, but we've mentioned the city of Kazan many, many different times. But allegedly, this is where the gunpowder facility is located, somewhere near here in the city of Kazan as well. Okay, so way deep over here into Russia, approximately 1,000 or maybe further kilometers into Russian territory. Okay, so just kind of for reference, guys, these three regions right here were being attacked just this morning and overnight. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump onto another update now from Bliskovka. Preliminary reports indicate a strike on the Kazan, Russia gunpowder plant, according to local media. This is one of Russia's key defense factories producing propellants for Caliber and Iskander missiles as well as artillery. The facility is already under EU, US, and Ukrainian sanctions for its role in supporting the war against Ukraine. All right, so we got a 39-second video here. This is the Kazan gunpowder plant allegedly struck and destroyed in the city of Kazan in Russia. Take a look.
Что-то горит, и по звукам как будто даже что-то взрывается. Вот, очень сильный дым валит.
Хорошо дымит.
All right, so you can see a lot of local residents over here in Kazan capturing the detonation of this building after it was attacked by drones. And if you look closely, it looks like there's another fire right there. Let's go ahead and pause this right there. So there's a fire coming from over here, and then just beyond these buildings, something else caught on fire. So I wonder if that's maybe a drone that was either suppressed by electronic warfare, maybe shot down, that, or maybe it was a completely different facility being attacked over here that we don't know about yet. But allegedly, this is the gunpowder factory where all this smoke is coming from to the left over here. And some of the local sources were also stating that it could have been a paint warehouse that could have been hit also. So I'm not sure where that information was coming from, but lots of sources today indicating on X that this was a gunpowder factory allegedly struck and destroyed. So here's another one from Igor Sushko. Russia-Ukraine struck the Kazan gunpowder factory, which produces explosives for Iskander ballistic missiles, Caliber cruise missiles, and artillery shells. So here's just another video. We're not going to watch the whole thing, but somebody was able to capture it up close. I mean, look at the blaze coming from here. It almost looks like a oil depot on fire with that amount of fire coming from there. That had to have been explosives being stored there on the inside. I mean, look at the amount of smoke coming from this place. Pretty amazing hit from Ukraine overnight. And I believe that could have actually been this morning when that hit took place. But now for Oza Defender, Ukrainian Special Operation Forces carried out a major drone attack this morning against Russia's Savasleyka Air Base in the Nizhny Novgorod Oblast to the southeast of Moscow, over 400 miles from Ukraine. According to the Ukrainian General Staff, current assessments suggest that a MiG-31K interceptor aircraft, regularly used to launch Kinzhal 47M2 Kinzhals against Ukraine, and an Su-30 or Su-34 multi-role fighter were destroyed in the attack, as the last 2 weeks continue to be the worst in history for the Russian Air Force. So we're going to wait for further confirmation, but Ukraine's General Staff is allegedly stating here that a MiG-31K that fires Kinzhal hypersonic missiles, I believe, and also an Su-34. These drop a lot of glide bombs all over Ukraine as well. Allegedly, these could have been struck and destroyed, okay? So maybe we'll get some more information or satellite imagery on that later, but that's what they're stating here. And if this happens to be the case, I mean, Russia's been losing a lot of aircraft just over the last week. From last Sunday, we had those strategic bombers being hit. We had that Su-35 that was reportedly shot down over the Kursk region. Now we've got 2 more aircraft being hit here also. I mean, this is crazy what Ukraine has been able to achieve lately. So here's just a couple of videos as well. Alright, sorry guys, I forgot this video had sound, because some of these do and some don't. But what you were watching here was an explosion that took place as Ukraine was firing drones over here towards that airbase, the Savasleyka airfield. Okay, so one more video coming up. This one doesn't have too much sound, but what we can hear here in the background sounds like a drone entering into this area as well. Okay, so there were drones heading on over here to the Savasleyka airfield. These were videos coming out from some of the residents in that area. Again, my apologies for that loud video there earlier. So let's move on to another one now from Max 25, more from Savasleyka airfield, 20 explosions according to locals. Okay, so we've got two videos here also. This one's going to show drones entering into the area, and also this one has some smoke, which appears to be at the Savasleyka airfield in that area as well. So let's jump into this first video. All right, so it might be a little difficult to hear what's going on in this video, but it is a drone that's flying right over this direction to the right of the camera where this man is recording, and the drone is just starting to come in. There it is right there crossing the screen. So there, again, there were drones entering over here, attacking this airfield. Not sure how many were going after it, but there were some heading over here. Here's another video as well. This one doesn't really have any sound, but what appears to be some smoke at the airfield over there, as allegedly we had direct hits impacting the Savasleyka airfield. And again, from what we understand, 2 aircraft could have been destroyed, okay? So there's video coming out from there. Now moving on to Ukrainian Review, military industrial complex facility where antennas for Shahed were manufactured was hit, according to General Staff. If you hit the facilities of JSC VNIIR Progress, or LLC ABS Electro, located in the city of Cheboksary, manufacturer of navigation equipment. Okay, so this is that defense plant located in the Chuvashi Republic that we were talking about on that map. Yeah, allegedly it was struck multiple times with drones. You can actually see one of these Ukrainian Lyuti drones right here entering to strike this facility as well while it's already on fire. So I'm assuming it got hit multiple times if it was already on fire after this attack. So something to note here also, this is called the Progress, JSC VNIIR Progress, okay? And we actually talked about a Progress plant that was hit over in Tambov, so I'm not sure if these are directly related, because I believe that other Progress plant that was in the Tambov region last week that was under attack as well by Ukrainian drones could have been a microelectronics plant as well, so I'm not sure 100% if they're related, but I noticed they have similar names, so just wanted to note that in there. Could be the same facility or same type of company that's connected with these 2 attacks that happened today and also last week. So now from Victoria, Progress Factory is now closed for an unspecified period, hopefully forever. It produced key components for the Russian military-industrial complex. Okay, so here's a picture coming out as well, allegedly showing a massive fire here on this facility after it was hit multiple times. And a pretty good photo there right next to it as it's on fire. Now from Ozen Technical, multiple Ukrainian attack drones hit Russia's VNIIR Progress Electronics plant in Cheboksary this morning, setting the facility ablaze. Seen here, a Ukrainian Lyuti attack drone slams into the plant, which produces a number of key components for Russian drones and missiles. Yeah, this is a really good video, guys. It's very clear to see this drone entering and slamming into the plant. Take a look.
Бомба же у него там на самолете. Еще взрыв.
Пиздец. Давайте из дома. Из дома. Из дома.
All right, so it looks like this electronics plant that produces antennas for Russian Shahed drones is going to be no more, at least for some time. And it looks like this thing is probably going to burn down to the ground with that amount of fire. And it got hit multiple times by Ukrainian drones. So huge hit from Ukraine. That should definitely disrupt Russia's production of drones. And we've been hearing right now that the Russians are massively producing drones. I think I have a report on that here in just a little bit. They're upping their production of these. So now from Kharkiv, Russia, Cheboksary, a factory that produces electronics for their army. So this was actually another angle of what appears to be that same attack. Just wanted to show you this real quick, 12 seconds. All right, so pretty insane video. I feel like this one's even clearer and shows a better angle of this direct strike. I mean, look at that thing slamming into this building while it was already on fire. So massive hit here from Ukraine today, destroying that facility. Now for more translated, HIMARS rocket struck a Russian military deployment site near Rilsk in the Kursk region, and everything is burning beautifully. So Rilsk is a city up in the Kursk region that's been attacked a lot recently. We know the Russians are really starting to stage a lot of their forces on the border in the Kursk region as they're trying to attack into Sumy right now, which is just over the border into Ukraine. So it looks like Ukraine carried out another HIMARS attack here on this building. And I was hearing some reports that North Korean soldiers could have been inside of here, but I can't completely confirm that. Maybe this was some sort of uh, deployment center here for Russian forces or something like that. But Ukraine carried out a strike here on this building. Take a look.
Вот досуговый центр имени Даниила Гранина, где были, значит, ракетный обстрел, в результате чего он полностью горит.
We'll go ahead and pause it there. So I'm not sure if you guys caught towards the beginning of this video, but the man mentioned that this was some sort of rocket attack that took place. So again, what's being reported here, this was a HIMARS strike on this building, and it definitely looks like it. I mean, look at the destruction here on this right side of the building. Looks like it took direct hits from HIMARS rockets. So now moving on to another one from Igor Sushko, Russia. Partisans set fire to a locomotive in Saratov region. Okay, so we've got another train being attacked. Once again, and this is something we've been seeing a lot over the past couple weeks. Ukraine is just attacking so much of Russia's logistics with all these trains being blown up. Looks like another locomotive was set fire to, and according to this information, it was partisans in the Saratov region. This is probably about, I want to estimate, maybe 800 kilometers or so from the border of Ukraine. And Saratov region gets attacked by drones a lot. There's lots of Russian defense plants and oil depots over here. And targets that Ukraine can go after. So it looks like the partisans burned down another train here in the Saratov region. Now from Jurgen Nodit, Ukrainian forces used naval drones equipped with machine guns and FPV against Russian elite units that landed on platforms in the Black Sea, Russian military officials complain. Okay, so this is a picture showing what appears to be one of these platforms that are out here in the Black Sea that were used to be used for oil and whatnot, but apparently the Russians have converted a lot of these into like radar stations, and this is something we've seen from Ukraine a lot, that they attack these gas platforms out here, and apparently they just attacked one yesterday over the weekend on Sunday, and apparently destroyed it. So that's a picture coming out from there. I've got another one here also from Ukraine battle map. After Russian special forces landed on an oil rig in the Black Sea, they were attacked by Ukrainian naval kamikaze drones. So here's another picture coming out showing this thing on fire. And apparently they use like radar systems down here to monitor everything that happens in the Black Sea, also to launch attacks on southern Ukraine. And we know the Russians right now are really trying to work on expanding their operations in the south. They also allegedly want control of like Mykolaiv and Odessa regions so they can cut Ukraine off from the Black Sea. So Ukraine's trying to do everything they can to prevent Russian operations over here from expanding in the south. That's why they're also going after these gas platforms over here. Now from Oza Defender, several Kh-47M2 Kinzhal air-launched ballistic missiles have just been launched at Rivne Oblast in western Ukraine, likely targeting Dubno Air Base, which was reportedly also struck last night by several cruise and ballistic missiles launched by Russia. So if you look at last night, look at all these regions, pretty much every region inside of Ukraine was under air raid alert, and the Rivne region is going to be over here, okay, northwestern Ukraine. This is allegedly where the Dubno Air Base is located at, and from what I'm hearing, it is possible, not completely confirmed, but possible that F-16s could be located at that base, and maybe that's why Russia was going after it, but it appears to be one of the major regions that was attacked last night in Ukraine by drones and missiles. Here's another one from Vicegrad24, breaking intense Russian suicide drones attack against Ukraine. Around 100 Russian drones are in the air, most of them targeting the Sumy region. So at one point, too, a lot of these drones were entering and attacking Kiev and also the Sumy Oblast up here. And we know in Sumy, the Russians are staging an offensive over there right now, so it's probably attacks carried out to support the ground units over there. But you can see multiple regions, Poltava even being attacked. I mean, these drones were really going everywhere, but some of the major strikes were Sumy, Kiev, the capital, was under attack, and then also Rivne, which is where the Dubna Air Base reportedly is stationed at, okay? So now from Max 25, the whole sky in Sumy region is red with targets. This has never happened before, Konotop Mayor Artem Semenikin reported. Mobile fire groups are working in Konotop to target enemy drones. So this was another report. Apparently this attack on Sumy last night was one of the most largest attacks that Sumy has seen. He says here that it was redwood targets, so I'm assuming that was a lot of drones, probably over 100 alone, just attacking into the Sumy Oblast last night. So Sumy under major pressure right now as the Russians are continuing to advance on the northern side of this oblast here, okay? So not good news. Now for Max 25, infographics show the approximate routes of enemy targets at night, okay? So here's kind of a map showing the trajectory of a lot of these drones that were entering into Ukraine last night, also these missiles as well. So if you look closely, it might be a little hard to tell on this map, but we've got 3 spots here with major explosions. So 2 of them over here in the Rivne Oblast, and then 1 of them in Kiev, which would have been the capital. So over here in the Rivne Oblast, again, this is where one of these air bases, the Dubno airfield, is located at. And you can see a lot of the explosions were over here. So definitely that oblast inside of Ukraine coming under heavy attack by drones and missiles overnight. Now from NOAA reports, Ukraine's Air Force spokesperson Yuri Inat confirmed that Patriot missile systems operated at 100% effectiveness today, intercepting all 4 out of 4 Kinzhal missiles targeting the Rivne region. So this was the report from him today. He was on a news broadcast. And again, this is Ukraine's Air Force spokesperson, Yuri Inat. Okay, so he's stating that apparently their Patriot systems were able to intercept all of the 4 Kinzhal hypersonic missiles that were fired into Ukraine. As far as I know, those should all be hypersonic. And yeah, 100% effectiveness. So if that happens to be the case and that's true, that's very big, okay? Because hypersonics are not easy to shoot down, but we have been hearing that the Patriot can be effective at shooting down those missiles, but again, still very difficult to do so. So that's what he stated today. So big news if that's the case. Now from Ukrainian Review. Russia attacked Ukraine with drones, cruise missiles, and ballistic missiles. Explosions were heard in Kiev, Ternopil, Rivne, Poltava, Cherkasy regions, in Kharkiv, Sumy, Donetsk, and Kiev regions. As a result of the Russian attack on Kiev, an office building in the Darnitsia district were damaged. In Rivne region, a person was injured as a result of an enemy strike. The region underwent the most massive attack since the beginning of the full-scale invasion. On video, Russian cruise missile attacks Rivne region. So yeah, what you're going to see here is a Russian cruise missile flying right over somebody's head, heading for the Rivne region, allegedly where we have the Dubna air base located at. Take a look. All right, so every night now we're starting to see a lot of Russian missiles entering into Ukraine. You know, there was a good 2 to 3 month period where, you know, we would see Russian missiles entering in Ukraine here and there. If Russia would really launch a massive attack, sometimes they'd launch 20, 40 missiles overnight, but they would only do this, you know, once every few weeks or once a month or something like that. Now we're starting to see this almost every night. Basically, since Ukraine attacked those strategic bombers at airfields last Sunday, almost the entire week since last week, we've been seeing a lot of these missiles really flying into Ukraine. So not good news, guys. The war is definitely escalating like crazy right now. Now from Anton Gerashenko, it is reported that today is the first stage of the exchange. Among the defenders returning today, there are injured and seriously injured warriors, as well as those under the age of 25. Most of them have been in Russian captivity since 2022, some since the first days of full-scale invasion. Welcome home. So yeah, there was some sort of prisoner exchange that took place today. I wasn't expecting this to happen because it was supposed to be taking place over Saturday and Sunday, but then Russia was coming out saying that that Ukraine was like sabotaging this and stating they didn't want their soldiers returned back. So I don't know what happened with that, but it looks like we did have a prisoner exchange today. Many of these men being under 25 years old. But take a look at this. Okay, so I'm not sure how many of these soldiers returned back home. It could have just been a few dozen or something. I'm not hearing any official numbers just yet. Maybe that'll come out later today. But nonetheless, we did have some Ukrainian troops coming back home today. Here's another one from Bliskovka. Volodymyr Zelensky confirmed that the exchange is only the first stage of the implementation of the Istanbul agreements. Group of released soldiers under the age of 25 is returning home today. In general, the exchange will last several days. The number of soldiers is not being announced until the process is completed for security reasons. Okay, so yeah, apparently, excuse me, we're not going to know how many of these soldiers returned back home, but what we can see here looks like a few dozen at least just in the video that was released in some of these pictures here. have been returned back home, but looks like they're still working on all the details here on how many soldiers will be coming back. But we were hearing it could be a large amount. It could be in the thousands again with this prisoner exchange on both sides. So now from next to breaking, Lavrov accuses Britain of supporting Ukraine's terrorist attacks against Russia. Russian Foreign Minister stated the United Kingdom 100% helps Kiev. So this is Sergei Lavrov, the Foreign Minister of Russia, once again, for the second time since last week, accusing the UK of being involved with these strikes on the airfields, what happened last week with strategic bombers. Take a look.
Хотя, кто знает, может быть, там по инерции еще и какие-то спецслужбы США участвуют, но британцы-то 100%. Хотя...
Okay, so just a quick statement here, but we can see him clearly blaming the UK for being involved with a lot of these attacks that are taking place inside of Russia, stating that, the British are helping out the Ukrainians 100%. Now, you would think that Russia would come out, present some evidence. So far, I haven't seen that yet. Maybe they will produce some evidence here very soon for the public to see. But once again, for the second time in a week, Russia complaining that the Brits are involved in these strikes. Now for Max 25, Russia produces more than 5,000 long-range drones per month. 2,700 are Shaheeds. The rest are imitators, according to Ukraine's GUR. This is a five-fold increase in the production rate of Russian drones compared to the summer of 2024. In August 2024, Russia produced 500 drones per month. So this is not good news. Just from August 2024 of last year, Russia producing 500 drones per month, okay? And not even a year later, now they're producing apparently 5,000, okay? So Russia is massively producing drones. We know Ukraine is doing the same thing as well. They're stating that they're producing somewhere between like 1 and 2 million per year. I don't know the exact numbers, but it's somewhere around there last I heard. So Ukraine's producing a lot of drones as well, but the Russians are massively producing their drones also. This means more massive attacks on Ukraine, and I think that's what we're going to see. We're going to see nightly drone attacks from both sides, and there's going to be no let up at all, and if anything, these drone attacks will increase. Now for Max 25, Ukraine unexpectedly wins air battle. F-16 shoots down Russian Su-35, according to Bild magazine. I believe that's out of Germany. I could be wrong. Somewhere in Europe. The battle took place over northeastern Ukraine. Ukrainian Air Force sent a fighter jet to attack Russian positions in the Kursk region. In response, Russians raised an Su-35. However, the Russian pilot was ambushed because a Swedish Saab 340 AWACS aircraft took off with the F-16. Find Russian aircraft 300 kilometers from the border, transmitted the coordinates to the F-16 pilot. The American fighter fired an AIM-120 missile, and the Su-35 was shot down 16 kilometers from the border near Kornevo in the Kursk region. Indeed, the Swedish AWACS system, which can detect Russian aircraft hundreds of kilometers away, neutralized the advantage that the radars on the Russian Su had in terms of range. So this is huge news, guys. Not only are we hearing more confirmed reports that a Ukrainian F-16 shot down a Russian Su-35, and from what I understand, this is the very first time that an F-16 has ever shot down a Russian fighter jet. But on top of that, a Swedish AWACS aircraft, the Swedish Saab 340 AWACS plane, this has been talked about for, I want to say, like 6 months to a year now. And Ukraine's been trying to get these for a long time, and we heard that Sweden had transferred at least one of these to Ukraine. But we didn't really hear any reports whether these were being actively used in service. And if that happens to be the case as well, this means that Ukraine now has an intelligence plane that they can use, that they coordinate with these F-16s to carry out these missions and take down fighter jets or carry out strikes, whatever it might be. So that's very, very big news now that if this is true, Ukraine's got intelligence planes they can use. So now from next to The Economist, Putin launches summer offensive to break Ukraine at any cost. Citing Ukrainian intelligence sources, the outlet reports that the Kremlin is preparing a new escalation. Main targets are expected to be Kostiantynivka and Pokrovsk, with even Sumy potentially under threat. For the first time since the start of the invasion, Russian forces are capturing almost as much territory in the north as they are in the Donbass. The reason? Outdated fortifications that are poorly suited for drone warfare. The goal is to create a buffer zone and then shift focus to the south. Moscow's betting on exhaustion. Here's that report from The Economist today. Putin unleashes summer offensive to break Ukraine. His killing machine has been told to deliver a glorious victory at any cost. So there's the official report talking about this offensive that's underway. I mean, we've been talking about this for several weeks now. The Russians are launching an offensive in the Sumy Oblast right now. They're trying to create a buffer zone on the northeastern side of Ukraine between Kharkiv, Cherniv, and also Sumy regions. And also on top of that, in the eastern side of Ukraine, the Russians have been making some gains over there. We've reported that over the last week or so, especially near Pokrovsk. They're getting close to the Dnipropetrovsk region, which is more getting closer to central Ukraine. They're breaking through the Donetsk Oblast, so that's not good news as well. And then in the south, we know the Russians are ramping up their operations in Zaporizhia Oblast. They're trying to also expand and control the southern portion of Ukraine and cut off Ukraine from the Black Sea. That would require them taking over the entirety of the Kherson Oblast and then move on to Mykolaiv and Odessa Oblast as well in the south. So not good news, guys. More information that Russia's offensive is underway. Here's another report now, too, from Nexta. Russia's moving record amounts of military equipment towards Sumy. Over the weekend, at least 10 new self-propelled artillery systems, air defense system, more than 40 trucks carrying troops and ammunition were transported from Crimea and Kherson, according to Petro Andriushenko, head of the Center for the Study of Occupation. He reports that all this equipment and personnel will be further transferred by rail to Russia's Kursk region, effectively to the Sumy area, where Russian forces are conducting an active offensive. So we're not going to watch this whole thing, but just some video being captured here showing lots of Russian vehicles coming from Crimea, allegedly heading over to like the Kherson region, possibly even Zaporizhia, that will eventually probably end up on trains that will be transported over to eastern Ukraine and then eventually shipped a lot of these equipment over to like the Sumy Oblast, where the Russians are carrying out their offensive right now. Okay, so this also kind of lines up with the story we heard this past Saturday, 2 days ago, where I let you guys know that Ukraine had apparently carried out a strike on a Russian locomotive and destroying a train that had a bunch of military equipment packed onto it. I do have an update with that today. So I wonder if some of that equipment could have been coming to Sumy, and maybe that's why Ukraine carried out that strike last Saturday, but we're still waiting for more videos and everything to come out. But I do have a picture to show you on that strike here in just a bit. Now, from current reports, breaking: Russia has accused China of stealing military technology, recruiting Russian officials, and showing interest in Russia's Far East. Russia's FSB has warned that China poses a serious threat to national security, labeling it as an emerging enemy of Russia. Now, I thought this was interesting. Here's a picture of Vladimir Putin, the Russian president. Then we've got the president of China, Xi Jinping. So Russia accusing China of stealing military technology and recruiting Russian officials, and interest in Russia's Far East. Now, this is a very interesting story, as we've been hearing recently that the Chinese are supplying so much equipment to the Russians. If anything, they're kind of showing that they side with Russia. Now there's a story coming out where Russia's saying that China's an enemy. So let me know what you guys think. Do you think this is a real story, or is Russia just kind of making this up to make it appear as if China's not backing them, or what's going on here? But I thought this was a crazy story coming out today. You guys let me know what you think on this one, as there could be a lot of possibilities going on here. Now, from Nexta, Orban has been replaced. Putin's friend thinks Russians are too weak to attack NATO. The reporter said, "Do you see the risk of a general war in Europe?" And then this was Viktor Orban, the Prime Minister of Hungary. He said no. Reporter says, why? Because the Russians are too weak for that. They can't even defeat Ukraine, so they're not capable of truly attacking NATO. Where's the real Orban? Write in the comments urgently. So yeah, this was apparently a report coming out today, as Viktor Orban was in an interview, and apparently that's what the reporter was asking him. Do you think that there will be a war in Europe with Russia and NATO? And he says no, because Russia's too weak. They can't even defeat Ukraine. Now, that's complete 180 from the way Orban, normally is. He obviously stands with the Russians. Why would he come out and say that Russia's weak and they can't, they can't even attack NATO, let alone can't even destroy Ukraine, right? So I thought that's interesting, as we're starting to see a major flip-flop here, not only with China, but now with Viktor Orban. And you guys let me know what you think on that, because we know that the EU is trying to get Ukraine into their organization right now. So I wonder if there was some sort of pressure being put on him, maybe from the EU. Maybe they're talking about trying to kick him out of the EU or something in the background. I don't know what's going on here, but this was a very strange story coming out today, and I did not expect this coming from Viktor Orban. As clearly he's very pro-Kremlin, pro-Russia, right? So now from Igor Sushko, Russia State Duma Deputy Zatulin proudly announced that Ukraine did not attack Russia's nuclear triad strategic bombers. He said only naval aircraft were damaged. Do people finally understand that Russia's immediately retreats when they're punched in the face? kind of a funny statement there. So, yeah, I mean, we had all these satellite images coming out showing the destruction of these Tu-95 MS bombers. There was Tu-22s being hit. Also, apparently, potentially at least, maybe one or two A-50 AWACS planes that Russia uses also. Those are like intelligence planes. And there's so much information coming out showing the destruction of these, but Russia's State Duma deputy Zatulin coming out saying that apparently only naval aircraft were damaged, not even destroyed, but yet we know a lot of these were destroyed at these airfields with these strategic bombers that happened last Sunday. So that was a crazy report today from Russia. Now for more translated, Russia's armed forces debut a 3-seat assault mobile bathtub and camo paint. So I want to show you guys this one because we've been, every now and then I pull up these pictures and videos coming out showing, the Russians just makeshifting all kinds of equipment because sometimes they're running out of military equipment and vehicles like you see here in the background, like this transport truck. So they're having to kind of make whatever they can come up with to transport troops and logistics around the front line. So this is kind of funny. It's like literally a bathtub attached to a motorcycle here. So I thought that was kind of a funny picture coming out today. Now for NOAA reports, Renault will launch drone production in Ukraine according to France Info. The French auto giant plans to partner with 2 French defense firms, setting up facilities within dozens or hundreds of kilometers from the front line. No French staff needed. Ukrainians are better than us at drone design, said Armed Forces Minister Lecornu. So insane report today also. This coming out from France. This is not in English, obviously, but yeah, we heard about this last week that there was going to be like a major auto manufacturer inside of France that was going to be partnering up with Ukraine to help them out producing drones. So apparently what they're going to do is open up defense firms inside of Ukraine, let Ukraine run these facilities and produce these drones as they believe they're better at that Ukraine is better at doing this, than the French are. So they're basically going to hand over some defense firms over to Ukraine, but will be run by the French and let Ukraine produce more drones. So that's huge, guys. More production and help for the Ukrainians. They're going to have more drones they can use in this fight against Russia. Now for Bliskovka, Israel's been transferring Patriot systems to Ukraine, which it received from the United States decades ago, said Israeli Ambassador Michael Brodsky. These are systems that were in service with Israel in the early 90s. We agreed to transfer them to Ukraine, and unfortunately, this was not talked about very much. But when they say that Israel did not help militarily, it is not true. Okay, so this is big news also. Apparently, Israel has been transferring Patriot systems to Ukraine. I don't know how many they've been receiving, but apparently they've got some of their own that they were shipping over to Ukraine, maybe a handful of these, we don't really know. But Ukraine has been calling for air defense systems, and Israel has been helping them out. We know about that. They've been sending them all kinds of equipment in this fight against Russia also. So that's very big news. We'll see if maybe we get some information on how many of these Patriot systems were sent to Ukraine recently. Now from Bliskovka, Lithuanian Foreign Minister Kęstutis Budrys arrived in Kiev. During the visit, the parties will discuss security guarantees for Ukraine, assistance from Lithuania, and our country's path to the EU. This is his 3rd visit to Ukraine since his appointment. Okay, so apparently we've got the foreign minister out of Lithuania that arrived in Kiev today. So apparently he's going to be there meeting with Volodymyr Zelensky. I haven't had any reports of what they talked about or what they announced, but we'll probably see some sort of press conference or something, or maybe with Andriy Sybiha, the foreign minister out of Ukraine. They might be announcing some things today. So if I get some information on that, I'll let you guys know. Now for more translated, Russia reinforces Crimean Bridge with 2 lines of anti-drone defenses, notes Supernova. So take a look at this. All right, so it looks like the Russians are erecting more barricades over here near the Crimean Bridge. So let's go ahead and pause that for a minute whenever he zooms in right here. So it looks like there's at least 1 barrier here, and I see 2 over here in the distance on that side. As we know, the Russians are very worried that Ukraine will launch some, Magura V5 drones over here, try to destroy this bridge. Maybe it could be a ballistic missile attack. We don't know what's going to happen, but we had a report, a week ago or so, that Ukraine attacked this bridge. As far as I know, it's still operational. I haven't heard any confirmed reports that it's shut down and destroyed or anything like that, but Ukraine did detonate some explosives and damage potentially some of the pillars and support structures of this bridge. But apparently the Russians are setting up some new barricades. Here's another good picture also showing them set up here, one or two sets of barriers to protect this bridge from naval drones. Now, from Bricktop NAFO, Putin getting rushed to the Kremlin. Russians are in panic mode again. This was last night. Not sure what this was all about, but apparently Putin was rushing to the Kremlin again late in the middle of the night. I wonder if it was due to attacks that were taking place as we had major facilities being struck and also an airbase being attacked. Okay, and again, we heard that some aircraft were destroyed potentially from Ukraine's general staff today. So allegedly, Putin was running back to the Kremlin again. And usually when we see this, I've reported this probably 4 or 5 times already. Nothing really happens. It's just Putin going back to the Kremlin for something. Now from Igor Sushko, breaking, Ukrainian drones flew out of grain train car hatches and destroyed 13 Russian tanks and more than 100 armored vehicles and other equipment being transported by the Russian train in occupied southern Ukraine. The hatches appear to have been opened remotely again. Okay, so this is confirming a report that we heard about just this past Saturday, I believe, when Ukraine allegedly carried out some sort of operation with drones. There was like a passing grain train that was going near a military train that was coming from Crimea, and allegedly the tops of the hatches of the grain train, they were popping off on tops of some of these rail cars, and drones were coming out of it and attacking a military train that was packed with vehicles and tanks. This is allegedly the first photo coming out showing what appears to be this train attacked. I'm not sure if this is a locomotive here on the front, but it looks like we did have a direct strike here on this train, possibly from these FPV drones. And again, still more talks that this story actually took place. So crazy image coming out from there. Now for Moza Defender, according to Ukrainian Air Force, Russia launched over 499 missiles and drones during last night's large-scale attack against Ukraine, with fighter aircraft and air defenses intercepting a record number amounting to nearly a 96% interception rate, which included 460 out of 479 Shahed-type attack drones, 277 downed by air defense, and 187 suppressed by electronic warfare methods, 4 out of 4 KH-47M2 Kinzhal air-launched ballistic missiles, 10 out of 10 KH-101 air-launched cruise missiles, 3 out of 3 KH-22 long-range anti-ship missiles, 2 out of 2 KH-31P air-to-surface missiles, 1 out of 1 KH-35 anti-ship cruise missile. Okay, so something I want to note based on this report here, I mean, look at that, guys. They're stating that pretty much every missile entering into Ukraine was shot down. And then on top of that, they're stating that 460 out of 479 Shahed drones were also either downed, being shot down, or suppressed by electronic warfare. I mean, something we've been seeing over the last 2 to 3 weeks that I've been showing you guys with these reports is that Ukraine is bringing down a good majority, sometimes 90% or more success rate with these drones, and now missiles being taken down. And then we're hearing that report of Ukraine receiving Patriot systems from Israel. So is Ukraine becoming more stronger now in terms of their air defense? It really seems like it. That, or they've come up with some sort of methods to be able to bring a lot of these things down, especially the drones. That's one we've been really seeing a lot over the past few weeks. We know they've got some laser systems that can be used to bring down these drones, all kinds of different interceptor missiles that can be used also to bring down drones, and then Ukraine's got F-16s and whatnot. So something has definitely changed here recently, and Ukraine is getting better and better every night at taking down a lot of these incoming projectiles. So that's crazy. 96% interception rate, guys. Let me know what you think on that. Now from Kyiv Independent, these are the indicative estimates of Russia's combat losses as of June 9th, according to the Armed Forces of Ukraine. In our final update of the day, Russia's losses as of June 9th, 970 troops, 11 AFVs, 123 vehicles and fuel tanks, 4 tanks, 42 artillery systems, 167 UAVs, and 1 MLRS. Okay, so much less being reported destroyed or damaged here on the Russia side compared to Saturday, actually, excuse me. Saturday had a lot of destruction, especially tanks. We were at like somewhere like 50 AFVs and tanks altogether that were being destroyed. This time, much lower numbers, kind of what we've been seeing over the past few weeks, especially troop losses, just under 1,000 there. So not a whole lot being destroyed here on the Russian side last night, but nonetheless, massive attacks with these defense factories being hit, this air base being attacked overnight as well from drones as well. And you guys let me know what you think about all these details down below in the comment section. I want to thank you very much for tuning in for today's update on June 9th, 2025. That's going to be it for today's update. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell, that way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless, and we'll see you in the next one.